Hello, and welcome to the Rest, Repair, Recover podcast. I'm Susie Bolt. This is a space for anyone who's navigating chronic illness. We are here to share real stories, helpful insights, and honest conversations about what it really takes to help yourself heal a tiny bit every day. So whether you're in bed listening, you're on a gentle walk, or you're just needing some company as you go about your day, I'm so glad that you're here.
So the next topic that we are going to be talking about is the very big and important topic of managing inflammation. So as you know, if you're in my community, we come at inflammation from the mind-body perspective, and we work with breath and we work with regulating the nervous system. But obviously there's lots of things that we can take and do alongside that to support this multifaceted journey. So let's just for a moment, Kevin, imagine we've got patient A and they've got a chronic response going on in their system. There's multiple different symptoms emerging. Obviously, they're going to go to the doctor. What's the doctor going to do with them?
It really depends on the symptoms that are portraying, because I think if you say chronic inflammation, then what does that mean? It's so wide. What does it mean? Where's it going? So it's probably worth taking a bit of a step back and saying what is chronic inflammation.
Great.
Before we kind of dive into the detail. So I always explain inflammation like a waterfall cascade. So it starts out this top, this kind of narrow stream, if you like, and then it opens out. And this cascade that at the bottom of the waterfall produces all these kind of inflammatory compounds, if you like. Things like leukotrienes and cytokines. You'll hear all these. The
cytokine storm.
Yeah, prostaglandins.
Right, yeah.
And they're really there to kind of help protect the body. And in a short-term inflammation process, it's very healthy. You need that.
That is the immune response, right?
It's the immune response.
Yeah.
The issue is when it then starts to be at a certain level continuously, then you'll start to get symptoms, and it might be skin, it might be digestive system. Because the digestive system is very prone to inflammation because it's very thin. Now, it's one cell thick, so very sensitive. If you think about your skin, it's got a tough layer on top. But actually, if it was just the dermis there, it would be very sensitive. You'd be a lot more careful about the skincare that you would use. And so these inflammatory mediators that at the bottom of the cascade can then start causing havoc because they then start interacting. They've got a big poster on the wall in the pharmacy of all the biochemical processes within the body, and it's incredible how these compounds interact with each other. So actually trying to simplify inflammation into a single process is really difficult and not necessarily helpful, which is why I tend to recommend a more holistic approach. So yes, the anti-inflammatory drugs that we're used to, like ibuprofen, and I know a lot about ibuprofen because I work with the scientists that discovered it way back in, goodness knows, 1980s, and at Boots Pharmaceuticals where it was discovered. And very useful, but definitely short to medium term, definitely not long term. And the problem is the impact of those anti-inflammatories, medium to long term, can have quite dramatic effects in terms of, particularly in the digestive system. We know that the impact there, but also on the heart and lung. Right. So cardiovascular system and the way you breathe and stuff. So if you're asthmatic, you've got to be careful about anti-inflammatories. So, so I think from an inflammation point of view, it can go a lot of different places. Like we talked about the skin, we talked about the digestive system. We know there's sort of other risk factors that are creating from a cardiovascular point of view. So we're trying to, I think the doctors are generally trying to steer away from that, or controlling and limiting their use. But obviously over the counter, you'll find ibuprofen, there's Voltarol, gel and what have you. Again, internally you could take them. So I think short to medium, absolutely. But actually the advantage of nature here, so I'm talking specifically things like turmeric, curcuminoids. Right. There's boswellia, which is a plant resin. And those sort of herbal botanical extracts can have a big impact on inflammation, and then do it in a much more holistic way. So, turmeric tends to be extracted to just one component, which is a bit like a pharmaceutical drug, curcumin. we prefer holistic extracts where you've got multiple curcuminoid actives amongst others.
Okay.
That are all it's like conducting an orchestra here, because if you've got these multiple inflammatory mediators at the bottom of the cascade, you want to be playing with all of them and adjusting them. And the body's very good at taking their extracts from things like turmeric when it's at the right strength.
Okay.
So 700 milligrams of the curcuminoids, not of the turmeric.
Right.
Really important.
Yes.
So the bioactive levels are the things that do the work. So don't get hoodwinked. Oh, it's got 10,000 milligrams of turmeric here. It's got, I've seen loads of claims on the net, on Amazon, whatever it is. Forget about that. It's the curcuminoid actives, the level of curcuminoids, 700 milligram minimum.
Okay.
For it to be an effective anti-inflammatory dose. So get into that inflammation process and you can run turmeric alongside any anti-inflammatory you're taking from the doctor, no problem. And then also start working with the digestive system. And the reason for that is that if you think about your digestive system, you've got your immune system integrated with the gut wall. Yeah. And the gut wall's one cell thick, very sensitive, and it's interacting with enzymes, bacteria, viruses, good, bad, ugly, and particularly if you've had an antibiotic, so you can often track back issues that have snowballed following antibiotic use.
Yes.
And inflammation is one of those things.
Yeah.
So working with a broad spectrum probiotic, prebiotics, slippery elm, love slippery elm.
Right.
Most underutilized herb on the planet.
Right.
Amongst, there are others, but...
Tell us why we should be taking slippery elm.
Slippery elm is a mucilage from a bark, and we look at it, very, very fine powder. And then if you just put a little bit of powder on your hand and then mix it with water, it starts to get a little bit gelatinous.
Okay.
So it's a bit like chia seeds. If you use chia seeds, again,
they turn into tadpoles.
Tadpoles. Love tadpoles. Brilliant, because that gel is a beautiful way of calming the digestive system. So if you're having it on a regular basis, you can have the full-fat yogurts, Greek yogurts, whatever, BioLife yogurts, not diet yogurt.
No, we're not fans of diet yogurts. No, thank you.
Absolutely.
No fat,
Slippery
more
elm.
sugar.
The great thing is just it kind of gently lines the gut.
Okay.
So, if you were over, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when I was in retail pharmacy, I would have recommended a Gaviscon or a Rene or whatever it is and stuff like that. They're quite brutal. Yeah. And they're obviously synthetic, and they work again short term, but there's a rebound effect to that. So if you can do it in sync with your gut, which is a living, our gut, top to bottom, is a living being, if you like. It's the center of our inflammation universe. So often if you're having inflammation problems, the first place I would go is the gut. Broad spectrum probiotic. We've got in our gut lab, we've got slippery elm as well for that reason.
Okay.
And if you want to supplement with more slippery elm, it's very tolerable. So you can take up to 2-3 grams and it won't have any side effects and stuff. You have to watch, because if you're taking a higher dose and you're taking prescribed medication, it can interfere with the absorption of that. So you might want to separate.
Yeah, it creates a bit of a barrier, I'm sure.
So you might want to separate out the dose.
Great.
So that there's a bit of space for you to absorb your prescribed medication. So we talked about curcuminoids. Absolutely, the benefits, or what are benefits if you're controlling that inflammation on a regular basis. So again, regular dosing. So people say to me, well, yes, dose is important, but actually taking these things regularly is really impactful on a long-term basis. And probiotics is another example of that.
With curcuminoids, and I think we've talked about this in one of our other interviews, I've definitely seen a lot of people notice the benefit of the reduction of joint inflammation. So pain around the joints, which has surprised people. How could something so natural be so effective on my body? But that is one of the first things that people will probably notice, the reduction of literally the aches and pains in the
recovery.
body. Right.
So I notice it if I go for a run, I'm taking it before and after. Yeah. Definitely it impacts on the recovery time.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And is it correct to be taking it with something like black pepper, and most of them do involve some kind of absorption agent? Is that right?
I think the better ones do. We prefer black pepper for a number of reasons. A, it's natural. be it's got piperine in there. Piperine is a painkiller, natural one, and it's a great way. It attaches itself to the curcuminoids and it takes across the cell membrane into the body. Otherwise, it just passes straight through.
Okay, right.
There are things called lipophilic membranes, so this is where they coat small quantities of the powder, tiny particles, with fat membranes. We don't use that technology for a number of reasons, partly and mostly because of the method that a lot of these lipophilic membranes are using to create them. So you have to find out where they're coming from, how they're made. It sounds natural, but actually what's the raw materials in the process. So often they're using ammonia, all sorts of unusual sources of fat, should I put it that way.
Okay.
So, and I think it almost acts like an emulsifier. So, and we know that emulsifiers can have an impact on the biome. So there's not enough science to actually go in there, but that's a concern I have.
Right.
Medium to long term, it's intuition, instinct.
Sure.
Not necessarily based on data, but primarily is that I have a concern about how these are made. And what raw materials are being used in the process to create these fatty layers. So they are effective. So they do increase absorption. Pharmaceutical companies use this technology as well.
Yeah.
And we prefer the old-fashioned way. Traditional way.
And I'm really hearing again and again each time we talk the importance of knowing what is in your supplement and not just buying it because it's got the title on the label. This is what you need. Because I think, people just get so desperate to be taking something and they can see something at a price that they can afford and go, right, I'll take that and then I'll take that and then I'll take that. And if I buy it for £3, I'll be able to take all of the things that I need rather than perhaps saving a little bit and just going, right, well, I'm going to buy those 2 supplements, but I know they're going to be really good for me.
Don't underestimate externals as well. I'm not a big fan of the ibuprofen gels, because I think there are better alternatives. Weleda make a fantastic product called arnica massage balm. Right. Really high strength arnica. Showed to be anti-inflammatory. It's got birch leaf in it, and it's got rosemary, a lot of rosemary in there, and it's really well absorbed, and it's kind of like a really nurturing thing you can do from a massage point of view, but also it's very good for if you've got aches and pains around the body, muscle aches and whatever, then generally I think it's a really useful, easy self-care process. And particularly if you can't, so some people can't take turmeric and whatever. And it's useful to say that some people struggle with capsules and stuff. Right. So you just twist open the capsule, sprinkle it in, a yogurt or whatever it is, and generally, if you make our turmeric, the Naturaflex turmeric, if you put it into a latte or whatever it is, it tastes actually quite like a Christmas drink, a bit spiced. Nice. Yeah, so because of the pepper, obviously. Right. So it's actually not that bad tasting and stuff. And dose is really important. So normal turmeric, food grade turmeric, you would need about 60 plus grams, a big mound of turmeric every day, which is a lot. It's a lot of turmeric to take. You've got to be pretty disciplined to take that. So which is why we concentrate, because 4% is normal strength. We concentrate ours to 95% strength, so you just need a couple of capsules as opposed to a whole mound of turmeric and stuff like that, which probably doesn't taste very nice. Not so much fun to work your way through that. I'm all for discipline, but your teeth would be a bit of a funny colour. That'd be okay, good. Yeah. So we're not recommending that. So let's look. So obviously, inflammation with chronic illness, it will show up in multiple different ways, and a lot of people are out there trying all sorts of things at the moment. And one of the things that is being discussed a lot and trialed a lot, but is quite difficult to get hold of, is LDN. Now, do you want to tell us a little bit about LDN? What I know about, and what I know about it is it's actually the low dose version of something that is administered normally for high doses for helping people come off opioid addiction. Yes, so correct. Now, why would we be experimenting with something like this? Tell us a bit more about it. Well, I mean, it's called naltrexone.
Low dose naltrexone, or just naltrexone,
and you're right, absolutely. It's a opioid receptor blocker. Yeah. So obviously, if people are coming off opioid addiction, then it's one of the ways that they use. Obviously, it's very controlled, but because of its normal usage, if you like, and so from a general use point of view, quite difficult to have prescribed, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I know of one doctor who's now retired actually, who was using naltrexone for this. I think if you look at the data on it, it's mixed.
Yes, it is mixed.
So I think that probably there are easier ways to, and perhaps more evidence-based ways of kind of dealing with the pain, if it's pain that we're dealing with.
Well, I think it's not just pain, it is the chronic fatigue. And, you know, the kind of dysregulation with all of the things that come with dysautonomia. It is for some people having, and as it's a very slow progress, but I think it's having a positive impact. There are lots of side effects for people, and for some people their bodies don't tolerate it at all, and it's not the right route. But it's interesting that it is having that grounding effect and is showing up in relieving fatigue for a lot of people, which is probably one of the big symptoms that people really struggle with. We've talked about LDN, and you know, I know that there's a very big focus on that for a lot of people, and some doctors are beginning to prescribe it, but knowing the longer term implications and some of the side effects, we are definitely exploring, and I know that I've explored with you in some of our conversations, alternatives. And PEA is one thing that we've had a little bit of discussion about. So why don't we talk a little bit about what is PEA, what does it mean, and what's the impact on the body?
So PEA is palmitoylethanolamine.
Great.
And it's naturally occurring. It's in foods like egg yolks and peanuts, amongst other things. It's a classic example of a natural component within a food or a botanical, where at low dose it's a sort of general healthy component of nature, if you like. But at a higher dose, it behaves like a pharmaceutical drug without the side effect profile because it's natural.
Okay.
So it's from my perspective, I was going to compare PEA to low dose naltrexone. Better risk benefit profile. Naltrexone has risks associated with it. Much more easily accessed.
Right.
You know, because we know that obviously you need a prescription for low dose naltrexone. I suspect most GPs would not prescribe it.
No, they don't.
So I would probably focus more on PEA than I would definitely on low dose naltrexone, and a little bit later we'll be talking about nicotine patches. Same, although that obviously nicotine patches is far more accessible. PEA, if you look at the evidence base, is very good, surprisingly good. Actually,
at what?
At pain relief and inflammation.
So lowering inflammation, not just pain, but where inflammation is showing up in the body.
Yeah, so you look at the data. I mean, sometimes with research trials, and I only look at human trials, I'm not interested in animal studies.
No.
Because they don't often translate to human beings. And animal trials are used because, slightly digression, because the licensing system in the world relies on toxicity data, which requires animal testing.
Right.
So you wouldn't get a drug license without going through animal testing, which is why you see so much of it.
Gosh, okay.
So slight aside to that. But if you look at the human data for PEA, actually it's very good. Surprisingly so, actually, because it's relatively newcomer to the scene, if you like. And if I was going to choose one between the three, I would definitely go for PEA. I would start at the lowest possible dose. You know, there's a bit of variation there in terms of the trial data, you know, 600-700 milligrams, sometimes 800 milligrams. So trying to relate the dose to the clinical information, really important. I think, again, because this is synthetic PEA, most supplements are synthetic PEA, difficult to extract at the level that you need from the food, where it comes from, how it's made, what the solvent residue in there,
all the
ask
usuals.
the questions. So we as the Naked Pharmacy has not reviewed suppliers of PEA, but if we were asked to review a supplement by, you know, somebody emailing or calling and whatever, we would do that for you.
Yeah, great.
We don't sell it on our site at the moment, but maybe we should.
Right. Well, I think you're probably going to get a whole bunch of people calling you.
Asking about PEA.
And asking about it.
And again, it's, start low, build up.
Yeah.
Make sure you've got a good supplier. Make sure you're asking the right questions. And make sure it's not coming from a chemical factory that don't really care about food use and or pharmaceutical standards for that matter. And test it out and mark your symptoms, 0 out of 10.
Yes, right.
Have I got significant improvement within 2 to 4 weeks?
Yeah.
If it has, then lowest possible dose for your symptoms. And if your symptoms stop, then stop taking it.
Yeah. And see what happens.
And see what happens.
Yeah,
if it comes back, might come back a month later, then start.
Yeah.
So each time, and I think this is a general rule for supplements, if you're treating symptoms, yes, you can have a break if your symptoms stop and you've had consistent health for a while. But it's okay if those, you might have 6 weeks, whatever, and then the symptoms come back for whatever reason, then fine. Redose.
Just take it again.
Take it again.
Yeah.
So just look at it like a dial. That the body has this dial that goes from, it suddenly flips to a different state from health to unhealth, and you can teach the body to flick back into that system, that process, but it has to learn that that's a state of normality.
Right, that it can hold that homeostasis by itself.
Yeah, this is the norm. This is, at the moment, it's tipped into unhealth, whether that's pain or whatever symptom you've got. It's stuck, the dial's stuck in unhealthy, and it sort of thinks that that's the norm.
Right.
That's my stasis point, right? So I'm going to kind of maintain this because that's normal, even though it's bloody uncomfortable.
It's horrible.
So let's flip it, let's teach it to flip back and get into that state and stay there.
Yeah.
So going back, having a period of time, making sure it's improving your symptoms, have the break, yes, if you're symptom free, but if you need to go back on it, then go back on it.
Yeah.
So definitely PEA any time over naltrexone.
Interesting.
For those reasons, and for different reasons, definitely PEA over nicotine patches.
So let's just talk for a moment about nicotine patches. Because I think this has been talked about for a couple of years in the kind of long COVID recovery community. And people are just out there, going on anecdotal stories that they've read on Facebook and kind of slapping them on and trying to work out why might this be helping me? Yeah. Why has it helped someone but made me feel really, really sick? Yeah. So what is happening when nicotine is put into the body via the skin?
Well, just in the same way as if you have a cigarette. Well, I'm a smoker, but I know from people I've spoken to that there's a sort of buzz about it.
Right.
It's like your energy rush and a calming at the same time. There's a settling. So it is giving you a sort of energy boost in that way, and not in a way that's necessarily stimulating the nervous system in an adverse way. But then the big but is that we know that nicotine makes the increases cardiovascular risk significantly.
Right.
So it doesn't matter that you're not smoking, you're absorbing it through.
So that's a really interesting point. It doesn't matter that you're not smoking it, it's still having a negative impact on your cardiovascular system.
So again, risk-benefit profile.
Yeah.
So there might be some benefits there because you're getting a stimulation effect. Is it dealing with the underlying symptoms? I suspect not. And is it increasing your long-term cardiovascular risk? Absolutely it is.
Okay.
So again, for that reason, risk-benefit profile. If you're going to have a choice, start with turmeric, move out to boswellia.
Yeah. Keep the big guns for the end of the line.
End of the line and stuff, and if it's still not working, then PEA.
Yeah.
So, but try it lowest effective dose.
Yeah.
Short term, medium term.
Well, especially with something like nicotine, if you are finding that it is having a positive impact on your energy levels, which a lot of people have noted, for those for whom the success has been noted, the goal is to get off them as fast as possible, not to have your life be dependent on a substance which we know is very addictive.
No, and I think this is probably a lesson as well for the social media community from a health point of view. Yes, share information and stuff, but sometimes I feel that there's a sort of reactivity to social media in terms of health, fads or crazes or whatever you want to call it, without necessarily looking at it from a logical risk-benefit profile. Sometimes the benefits are expanded upon, the risks are not really discussed. So actually, true empowerment is about balanced delivery of the information available. Scientific, yes, absolutely. Instinctive, intuitive, really important as well. and enabling people to make a balanced opinion. I feel sometimes on social media that risk-benefit balance is not described and communicated. So,
well, because there's no one leading the flock, who are interested in trying this out with any great wisdom. There's anecdotal wisdom. And of course, when people have been ill for a very long time and they aren't able to go to work and they aren't able sometimes getting out of bed, you are going to try something. If you read somewhere that someone, it really made a difference. And I see it every single day because I'm, the admin on a few Facebook groups and a member of many. I see someone saying, you took that. What is that? Where can I get it? So we don't even go through I wonder if that's right for me. It's just, it worked for you. Where can I get it? I'm going to try it. So that decision making is happening so quickly from a place of desperation. So actually doing this kind of discussion, hopefully, will let people just sit and listen to some of this and go, okay, I need to just slow down on the decisions I'm making that I think are going to help me, or I'm, just going to try everything all at once. It's like, just go slowly, because some of the things that you will try will not be good for you.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I see in the States in a big way, the shifting, and it's happening over here, it's happening in Europe as well. So I think that just taking your time and finding a source of information that you trust, that's providing both sides of the story, positive and negative, and enabling you to make the right decision for you, I think is really important. And that's why part of the reason I set up the Naked Pharmacy, so that there's a hub community element to it that's free at source.
Great.
It's not about selling products, it's about providing information and empowering people to make the best decisions for their health. And I get it, you're in a difficult situation, particularly if you're in pain. Pain's horrible. Chronic pain is awful. And
as is chronic fatigue.
If
you can't do your life because your energy levels are just zapped the minute you've got up and tried to wash your hair and you're done. Your life is completely changed.
It's demoralizing. Absolutely. I get it. And so we're not about saying no, but actually if there are choices to be made, then, like you say, go up the scale, and if you need the big guns, then actually make it easy for yourself. So I think one of the issues about naltrexone is that it's actually making the journey very hard for you, and actually there are easier, probably safer options available.
Great. That's really, really worth knowing. So we have covered in this piece LDN, we've covered PEA, we've covered nicotine patches, we've also covered curcumin, and general kind of the whole concept of what is inflammation and why it's so important for us to just work out what's right for us as slowly as possible, because I find that even the act of panicking about got to be doing something is kind of adding to the bonfire anyway. So taking our time, finding the information that's going to work, knowing the pros and cons before you spend a lot of money, making the healthy decisions for you and your body, and paying attention to how your body deals with some of this stuff. Brilliant. Thank you, Kevin. That was great.
Pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening to the Rest, Repair, Recover podcast. If this episode brought you comfort, insight, or even a little spark of hope, I'd love it if you left a review. It really helps more people find this kind of much-needed support. And if you know someone that needs to hear this too, please share it with them. I'm sending love, as always. Look after yourselves.